Welcome in, everyone. It's Marci Mearns here, and I'm just thrilled to bring you information today on the work of Dr. Filip DeGroote. Um, please forgive my pronunciation if I don't have that correct. We have a lot of material to cover, and what I'd like to ask you to do, the format that usually works well for all of us here is if you have a question, um, pop it in the chat or wait until I pause, better yet, and then and ask if you have questions. And at that point, I'll either look at the chat or if you've been unmuted, you can go ahead and just speak your question. So we have an hour and 15 minutes. We've got a lot of ground to cover here. And again, I'm really excited about this topic and this information that I'm going to share with you today. Okay. So without further ado, welcome in and let's just, before I go further, I want to say that when this video is posted, I'll be posting it on my personal website as well as the Radar Opus folks always post these. There's going to be a handout. And I would encourage you to grab the handout if for no other reason than to get all of the links, because there are a lot of links for more information here. And I would encourage you, this is really an intro. So with that being said, I really encourage you to dig in. You're going to find what I hope to be lots of useful information and rabbit holes you can go down, particularly if you grab some of these links. Okay. So with that said, we're going to talk about the work today of Dr. Filip DeGroote, who is a Belgian MD, graduated as a doctor of medicine in 1978, and he has maintained a full-time classical homeopathic practice since 1980. Dr. DeGroote is a classical homeopath whose unique method of prescribing includes administering a classical or bowel nosode alongside the individual remedy or the simillimum. This aims to bring not only the individual, but also the ancestral energy into balance. So we're going to talk about that point. And we are also going to cover this second point here. To determine which remedy to administer, he uses a method he developed himself, which he calls energetic examination. This is an approach based on the acupuncture energetic model of the human being, in other words, applied and clinical kinesiology. There is a history as well to this energetic examination, and we're going to go into a little bit of information about that. Again, lots of links for you to investigate further. Yeah. So in Radar Opus program, we have many, many works by Dr. DeGroote available. And I'm going to go over these in no particular order, but somewhat in the order that you see them here. And we've got some cases to take a look at, sample cases and all of that. So bear with me. Okay. So here's a quotation from the good doctor himself. He says, "There were 3 important steps in my development as homeopathic practitioner, which can be compared with 3 successive insights." All right. So the first insight he points out here in 1985, he said one should set out and judge separately the nosodal symptoms, rubrics which contain the nosodes carcinosin, metaurinum, syphilinum, and or tuberculinum. Serinum is also included in that list. Those would represent the hereditary energy and prescribe the individual remedy of the patient only on the non-nosodal symptoms. Okay, we're going to have a look at that very topic, which is covered in this book, Notes on Miasms, Heredity, and Nosodes. The second edition is available in your Radar Opus program if you have the correct library. And for example, here there's a link. So again, if you get the handout, you go to the link, it'll take you to the page for that book on the Radar Opus website. But here are some of the topics, before we actually take a look at the book, here's some of the topics that if these pique your interest, you're going to want to have a look at this book. So if you are interested in or studying the topic of miasms, miasms connected with other systems of thinking like five elements, Eastern thinking, Eastern medicine, I should say, Ayurveda. There is a copy of an excellent article that the doctor wrote on the genome and epigenetics. Um, of course, the use of nosodes, both classical and bowel nosodes, is covered in this book, as well as um, Monera, fungi remedies, and then, of course, meridians, acupuncture points, and nosodes. So if any of that is of any interest to you, you're going to want to have a look at the book. So here's just a little shot of the table of contents. Let's go ahead and get into Repetory and have a peek, shall we? We're looking for notes on miasms, heredity, and nosodes, this one. So you'll see over here in my table of contents, I've got that book selected. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open using that magic triangle. I'm going to open the table of contents here and just pop through a few of these things. Miasms, for example, if you, as I said, these are topics of study. This is a very, very comprehensive book. You're going to find plenty to read and study. So there is this section on miasms. I'm just randomly popping through here. There's no way I could cover everything in this book in one sitting. But here we have something called miasms and their psychological background. Let's have a look further. In accordance with Sigmund Freud, Jung, Sora as an archetype, for example. All right, and then we're going to get into the various miasms and his understanding of those. So that's all there. Here we have miasms, as I said, in Ayurveda. Okay. Hereditary and ancestral energy. I mean, it just goes on and on. Heredity and the classic nosodes. Now, I'm just going to scroll down here because there's some things, whoops, that I really want to make sure that we see. And scrolling is always a little iffy in this table of contents window over here on the side. All right, so again, we're getting into nosodes, definitions of nosodes, and here we have the classic nosodes, as I mentioned, those being Serinum, Syphilinum, Meteorinum, Tuberculinum, and so on. Now, you'll notice here that we're starting to get into the connections between the various classic nosodes and muscle groups. Okay, all this is, there's much more detail about all that when you get into the books themselves. Sora and nosodes. All right, here's where we're going to get energetic screening of the soric nosodes by their energetic points. So again, we're going to talk about the energetic points in a bit, but you see that we are beginning now to cover bowel nosodes. I'm actually flipping back. So here's a section on bowel nosodes. Suffice it to say that there is a lot of information available in this one book. And I'm going to talk a little bit as we go forward in terms of what's available for purchase. I believe this book is a standalone. Okay, but well worth adding, I believe well worth adding to your library. So let's go back to the presentation and see what else I want to say on the subject. I think I just want to jump into a case. Okay, let me go back here for just a moment to that first insight. Set out and judge separately the nosodal symptoms, those representing, in his view, the hereditary energy, from the individual energy of the patient. Okay, so let's take a look at a case example here. And this is one from taken from this book, but we're going to go in some depth about how you can apply this technique in your own case analysis, should you choose to do so. Okay, and I have a case of my own in here that we're going to look at later. So here is a case of a female patient, 12 years old, family anamnesis, meaning no particular miasmatic taint present in the family background. In other words, it's not cancer, it's not syphilitic. That's how I interpret that portion of this case. So The mother is consulting because she's nervous and tense. Okay, what I did with this write-up is I simply broke everything down for case number 1 into a list of symptoms. Okay, so here they are. These are the symptoms that were taken by the doctor, reported by the mother, and I'm imagine the 12-year-old. Let's go ahead now and let's take a look at that case. I have it here in my radar opus. And what we're going to do now, we're going to actually look at this section by section. So the first clipboard here, now I'm going to go to the lower left here and close that table of contents. We don't care. Remember, the chief, I believe it's a chief complaint here, is the sleepwalking, the somnambulism, right? So that's on clipboard number 1. And if you remember how to view multiple clipboards, you just press and hold on my Mac. It's the command key. And as long as I have my finger on that key, I can turn on another clipboard at the same time. So we have diarrhea after anxiety. And on our third clipboard, I actually put 2 symptoms. I put the mind symptom fastidious that the parent reports. And then I took all of this weeping, many different rubrics representing weeping, and I grouped them all together. So this actually comprises 4 symptoms. And you'll notice that in the analysis strategy that I normally use, which is sum of symptoms sorted degrees, according to this first cut, if you will, we've got 6 remedies up to and including argentum nitricum that cover all 4 symptoms. Okay, so yeah, Bob's your uncle. We'll just choose one of these and get on with it, right? Wrong. Okay, someone's got a quick question in chat. I'm going to ask you to hold just for a moment on that, and I want to finish this first little bit. Okay, so that's our first 4 symptoms here. Weeps at the least reprimand. You see, I got all 4 of those over there. Now, let us go to, here's that repertorization. All right. Now, do you remember what he said? We're going to set out and judge the nosodal symptoms separate. In other words, the hereditary energy, we are actually going to not look at those in our repertorization. Okay, so I put together these steps for how you can do this yourself. We're going to do a normal repertorization just like we did, grouping symptoms as needed, just like we did. Now, the next set of steps here is to limit to nosodes and zero out all the nosodal symptoms. Okay, let me show you what I mean. I'm going to go back to Radar Opus for just a moment, and I'm actually going to use my limits here that's designated by the tree. That's families. Remember that? And when I select Nosodes families, what happens is the display of my symptoms has now been limited to medicines that have nosodes. The traditional nosodes as well as others are listed. And remember, what we want to do is any symptom that includes a classical nosode in this case, we don't want to use it. Okay? So the sleepwalking is there for serinum. It's there for tuberculinum as well. We're going to have to zero that out. So I'm just, now you could do this by right clicking and changing the intensity to 0. I'm lazy. I just click on the rubric and type the 0 on my keyboard. Now, diarrhea after anxiety. We can't use that one either because it's there for carcinosin, right? Bye-bye. Just click to 0. How about fastidious? That's full. So this is a nosodal rubric, right? So we're going to zero it out. Getting down there, aren't we? And now what about all of these weeping from reproaches? I'm sorry to say that all of that is also useless. Okay, so we have for the first 4 symptoms a big fat 0. I went through, what did I do? I set nosodes for a limit so that I could identify the nosodal rubrics. I zeroed them all out. And now the last step I'm going to do is to simply go back to, let's see, remove families limitation. There we go. Okay, so essentially I have no symptoms now for my case. Oh, well, that's okay. Stay tuned. I just followed the steps. I limited to nosodes. I zeroed out all the nosodal symptoms, and then I removed the limit, right? So far, so good. Let me take a look at this chat. It bugs me to have a question going on. Hereditary energy, it is only for nosodes. Okay, That's all it is in this particular presentation. Okay? For this particular practitioner. So you saw those analysis steps. Let's go to the next set of symptoms in our case. We have anxious in the dark, feels as if there's somebody in the room, and does not tolerate the sun. Okay? Let me go back to my case. I've already worked. Oh, and you see that I actually have, there's a screenshot. So it should be clipboard 4, 5, and 6. Let's go have a peek. So clipboard 4, 5, and 6. There they are. What's our technique? We're going to get rid of those nosodal rubrics. How do we do that? We take nosodes families. Okay, fear of the dark's got to go, right? So we'll just zero it out. Look, this one came through. I have no nosodes in either one of these, right? So they can remain just as they are. And then exposure to the sun is another one that's not cutting the mustard, is it? So I'm just going to zero that out. Remember, you got to remove your limit. I'm just doing this in a sort of a methodical sort of a way. So now I've actually got a symptom here. This delusion, someone else in the room. What's the other rubric I used? Delusions, another person is in the room. Okay, that symptom actually comes through because it not got any of the nosodes in it. Are we tracking? Okay, let's go to the next set. Here we go. Dislikes hot drinks, loves steak, and skin warts. That's going to be 7, 8, and 9. Let's go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. 7, 8, and 9. Let's put on our nosodes limit. I'm trying to. Okay, so that warm thing was fine, right? Whatever it was, warm foods. Yeah, aversion to hot drinks is good, right? No nosodes. Beef, desires beef. That's a no-go. Have to zero it out, as well as the condolamata. And, you know, that makes complete sense, doesn't it? So we're going to zero that one out. Now, what do we, oh, we got to remove our nosodes limit, right? Oops, sorry about that. There we go, it's here. Okay, so the entire case now, we have effectively, I'm just turning these clipboards all on. It's a little hard to see, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to zoom out just a bit so that hopefully we can see the entire case here. Okay, so what have we got remaining here? Well, it looks like we've got 2 symptoms. What are they? We've got this symptom here, delusions, there's another person in the room. And we've got aversion to hot drinks. You see, those have a 1. Everything else has been zeroed out. So if I just take those 2, I've selected aversion to hot drinks. I've selected delusion, another person in the room. Now, if I want to be, technically, I can just look up here and I can see that lycopodium is the only medicine that comes through in those 2 individualizing symptoms in this case. If I want to, I've highlighted both of those. I can actually right-click and turn those into eliminative, and voila. Lycopodium is the individual remedy for this particular case using that methodology. Okay, so again, these are the analysis steps. In this final one, review the remaining symptoms, set elimination rubrics where appropriate. Okay, and this indeed is a case of lycopodium on which the child did very well. Okay, and so there's a screenshot of that if you want to see. I actually just made that one elimination when I worked it up before. Okay, so this is a useful technique that you can use to make sure that you are really, really individualizing the prescription in the moment for the patient. Let's move on, shall we? Okay, our second insight. Let me one more piece of review. I just want to point out that all of this that we just did, this analysis, that is all outlined in Notes on Miasms, Heredity, and Nosodes. Okay, that's a standalone book. Now I'm going to go down here to insight number 2, which is detailed in this second book, which we're going to take a deeper look at right now. So this is where I'm sure many of you have tuned in for this particular part of the presentation. His second insight, 1989, energetic examination by kinesiological principles. This results in the fact that the remedy that has to be prescribed can already be verified to be correct before being taken by the patient in question. Okay? That's a grand statement, isn't it? Well, the information, the work is detailed in this book, Physical Examination and Observation in Homeopathy. It actually came out in an earlier edition, 1992. I have a copy of that. It's a really interesting book. But the second edition, 2014, is the one that we're going to look at here in the program. Dr. DeGroote has dedicated this book to his teacher, Dr. Albert Pleiades. Again, forgive my pronunciation. And what he says is, I became acquainted with the concept of kinesiology, and my attention was particularly drawn to the muscle tests because Dr. Pleiades taught us a few relationships between weakened muscles and specific homeopathic remedies. Further, thanks to my regular contact with the doctor in the period of 1980 to 81, Dr. Pleiades passed in 1981. The use of the waypoints, and we'll get to those in a moment, introduction of chiropraxis and kinesiology. Here's the important point. I succeeded in creating a clear clinical picture for a large number of homeopathic remedies. With this, we finally come to a rehabilitation of the clinical examination in homeopathy. Now, those of us who are professional homeopaths, in other words, non-licensed people, may or may not do physical examinations as part of our case taking. So you yourself in your own practice will find the sweet spot for how you may or may not be able to apply this information. Okay. Here's some further information gleaned from reviewing this and the other related book. Let's remember that homeopathy and acupuncture act on the same energy called by Hahnemann the vital force and called by the Chinese medicine qi. Okay, and again, these are the words for the most part of Dr. DeGroote. Because homeopathy and acupuncture are both energetic medicines acting on the same energetic body, we can use acupuncture points and meridians to control or verify the correctness of our homeopathic prescription. So what he calls the energetic examination is an energetic investigation of acupuncture points that are out of balance, of the muscles in imbalance, which could be hypotonic, hypertonic, of the affected spinal nerves and vertebrae, which are all in relation with each homeopathic remedy. Okay? And I'm just going to cut to the chase here in the center of the screen here. Each homeopathic remedy has its own energetic picture or signature, which corresponds to specific energetic points. This signature can be used to verify the homeopathic prescription, etc. Okay? So let us have a look at this book. Now, I just flipped through it again, and I want to suggest that if you are interested in exploring any of the topics that I've listed here, you're going to want to have a copy of this book. Muscle testing in any form or fashion, meridians and acupuncture points, nerve and muscle disturbances, neurological dysfunction. I think that kind of those two go together. Electromagnetic stress or EMF stressors, all of those topics are covered in great depth in this book. And the last one on the list is what Dr. DeGroote refers to as energetic materia medica. Okay, and you see, I just took a screenshot here of look at this is just the letter A. The number of medicines that are included in this book with their own energetic signature described is incredible. So let's go ahead and have a look at physical examination and observation in homeopathy. Okay. We're going to go back to our table of contents. And, ooh, I better zoom this thing in again, or we're going to really not be able to see much of what's going on. Okay, so here's our physical examination. Is it this one? Yeah, and observation in homeopathy, and that's the 2014 edition. Now, you saw that I made notes of things that you would probably be interested in. This section remarks on electromagnetic stress. This is fascinating because he's not only talking about, our current idea of EMFs, but also magnetic remedies, magnet remedies, for example, ferrum magneticum, and how these affect various muscles and points throughout the body. So there's a lot of information in here. What I want to skip to, though, because we're going to run short on time, the 42 muscle tests. If you are, as I said, if you're interested in a detailed description of how to do the muscle testing, it's all here. Okay? And he goes through 42 different muscle tests. That's all there. Now, I'm going to close repertory relation. I guess I got to have that. Oh, here's the materia medica. Okay. So let's take a look at allium cepa. For example, all right, here's the materia medica for allium cepa. Here are the muscle tests. Here are the target organs. Appearance and behavior. You see the kind of notes that are here? This is incredible. Okay? Lots and lots of, here are the energetic points, the waypoint. Okay, now that's just for allium cepa. Here's the issue, and I want to point this out to you right now. If you do decide that you're going to investigate this further, when I do a search, and if you know me, you know that I like the advanced search. So let's just pull that up using the function F5. We were looking at allium cepa, right? Normally, if I'm going to search for information on allium cepa, I'm going to do it here where it says remedies. I'm going to put ALL-C. And when that remedy comes up, I'm going to go ahead and I'll tell the program where to search. So I have it set for open references. Let's just do that really quickly. And nothing comes up. There's Zippo. Why? Because these references, the books themselves, are not indexed by remedy. So what I have to do is I have to actually type it over here and search for the words ALLIUM. And if I just search for allium, again, the word allium would be enough. Now let's put cepa. Why not? Okay. Hopefully this is a good example. And when I search in open references now, well, it didn't like that. Oh, yes, it did. Here's the allium cepa, and there's the section in that book. Okay, so I've made that note for you here in this list of important stuff. When you want to look at the energetic materia medica of any of the many, hundreds of remedies that are in here, you've got to search using words. Okay. That means that when I'm trying to do some research on materia medica or what have you, or confirm a prescription, I'm probably now, if I'm using any of this methodology, gonna have to not only search over here in the remedies index, but also just type the words in. Okay, so it's a little note to self. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know all these were in here until I started preparing for today. And I'm like, wow, I guess I'm gonna have to like modify the way I work a little bit. Okay, so that's that book. And along with that one, we've got another title, Physical and Energetic Examination of the Homeopathic Patient. This is a complete handout of Dr. DeGroote's 5-day course on energetic training seminar to identify the simillimum in every patient. Okay, are you kidding me? Okay, this is where we really get the detail about muscle testing, meridians, nutritional imbalances are covered and indications for those. There's a tremendous section on back pain, a discussion of embryology, and then keynote behaviors of selected remedies. Once again, because it's a book, let's go take a look at it. Whoops, because it's a book, what's this one called? Notes? No. Physical examination of the homeopathic patient. This is that, entire course laid out for you here. If we look at the contents here, anatomy of the spinal column, blah, blah, blah. He tells us again in the greatest of detail how to do that energetic investigation. There are also, however, oh yeah, look at this headache. This is the headache, and the back pain is also in here somewhere. Kinesiological application. Okay, here we go. Addendum of homeopathic items. Anyway, there is also a listing. Oh, repertory of muscle tests. There is also a listing in here of notes on various remedies. So you're going to want to have that one also searchable using the words, in other words, the name of the remedy itself. Okay, I'm rushing because we have a lot to get through. Okay, we just looked at that book. Now, just a couple more things before, um, yeah, just a couple more little things. I wanted to make a, a point about those waypoints. And again, I apologize for my pronunciation. Um, I got this information actually off of a presentation I found online by Dr. Jerry Cantor. So if you're interested in, Dr. Cantor is also an acupuncturist and a homeopath. So those waypoints actually have a history, okay? And so he points out that Hahnemann even himself pointed out that if a remedy is well chosen, it touches on all the ill points in a curative way, and they will disappear. Hahnemann, however, chose not to include pinpoint digital palpitation as part of our diagnostic process. However, there were other homeopaths at various times who actually have gone into great depth on the subject, one of them being Rademacher. Okay? And he was a contemporary of Hahnemann. Moving further on, Dr. Way, and that's where the name comes from, he concluded that whenever a particular homeopathic drug picture is indicated, certain points on the surface of the body become especially sensitive to digital pressure. Okay? And when the appropriate remedy is administered, these points lose their sensitivity. He mapped a lot of points. Okay? Here is what Dr. DeGroote has to say about the waypoints. The use of the points dates from around 1875. Yeah, we saw that. Painful acupressure points. This method implies that when a remedy is indicated, pressure on the corresponding point produces acute pain. Okay, Dr. Plaities, remember he was Dr. DeGroote's teacher, used those as a confirmation method in his clinical work. According to Dr. DeGroote, here, last paragraph, according to my experience, pressure on the waypoint clearly ameliorates the corresponding weak muscle test. Pressure on the waypoint, as it were, as long as the pressure continues, a temporary, oh, I must have missed that quote. Anyway, it imitates a temporary application of the remedy. Okay, let me see what you're chatting. Will the recording be available? Yes, absolutely. It'll be on my website, themarcimearns.com, and also on radaropus.us. You should get an email when that gets posted. Okay, it usually takes them a few days. And again, as I said, get the handout as well. Further to the waypoints, if you're interested, there are these old diagrams and a huge discussion of this in French. And I put the link to that here. Okay, now we're wrapping up here on this discussion of the energetic examination and energetic remedy picture, but I want you to see the energetic remedy picture module. Okay, so let's take a look. This is another of Dr. DeGroote's contributions. Let us go to any remedy, in fact. And let's take aconite as an example. And I just brought it up here because, oh, these don't always work so well. Let me get into the repertory. Okay, there we go. And yeah, we'll take aconite. Now, when I right click on the name of the remedy, remember this is how we can often get more information. If you have this module, look at this. There's something called DeGroote's energetic remedy picture. Watch what happens. I get a fantastic tool. I have a visual graphic illustration of the see they're in red, the hypertonic muscles as well as the hypotonic muscles. I also have the nerves, the affected nerves in the cervical region, as well as the associated vertebrae. All right. And this for many, 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 many remedies is available. Okay. So again, all I have to do, let's look at silica. If I just right click and take that last list, here are my silica references. Okay, so that's a really cool visual tool that you can use. And last but not least, whoops, let's bring up that. There we go. Let's also look at the muscles, nerves, and vertebrae repertory. Okay, so back in Radar Opus, let's look at our repertories. Here it is: muscles, nerves, and vertebrae repertory. Now, what's actually available here? I'm just going to open up the navigation window. And I'm going to go for well, the muscles is fine. Okay, I can use this just like any repertory. And let's say I wanted to look at the trapezius, TRAP. Actually, I did this yesterday with a patient. She had a tremendously tight trapezius, upper and middle. Okay, hypertonic on the right. There's the rubric right there with 35 remedies. I said to myself, my patient has got to be in this rubric because she's got so much tension in that muscle. Okay, and I'm not going to give away the case because I might actually present it sometime soon. Okay, so that is the muscles, nerves, and it's got, what did I say? It's got the chakras, um, which chakras are affected, and so on and so forth. The nerves are also really important. So the nerves of the cervical region, the ones that are affected by various remedies or that have an affinity, those are all listed here. So let us get back to the presentation. Now, voila, look at this. We have available in Radar Opus what's called the Energy Bundle, and this thing is on sale. So it's got 4 books. It's got both of these, that physical examination one we looked at first. It's also got that, text of the 5-day course. It's also got the picture module as well as that repertory. This thing is on sale right now for $144. Anyway, I'm not a salesperson by any means, but I hope you're as excited as I am. This is like just refreshed me in the last week or so as I've prepared for today. So those are some of the works that are available. And is it available in 3/3/24? Dina, I don't know. You'll have to check with orders at radaropus.us for any questions having to do with sales. Okay. I just went online and saw, oh my gosh, it's on sale. And I think again, there should be a link. Anyway, not going to try and sell you something, but it's a great deal. You get all 4 of those books. Now, let us move on because we've also got this whole thing on the dreams. Now I've been using this dreams repertory for years. I love this repertory. So what does Dr. DeGroote have to say about this book? Practice proves that almost any dream is worthwhile and useful to the homeopath. This is contrary to what is often lectured. The main reason why dreams are very useful is that dreams are carriers of powerful primary energetic information of the patient because censorship of the conscience falls away. Yeah, I think most of us would agree with that, right? Now, there are actually 2 works available having to do with dreams. And once again, I'm the first person to learn as I make these presentations. The first is the Repertory of Dreams, okay? About 150,000 additions to Kent's Dreams chapter. Okay, it's a completely separate book. You'll see here a picture of the navigation window. Provides a repertory of dream themes extracted from the cases. Okay, so these are all from Dr. DeGroote's cases. Now, I made a note here at the bottom of this paragraph here. Additional chapters offer important clinically verified symptoms from Dr. DeGroote's practice. I cannot tell you how many times I have confirmed remedy prescriptions based on these other chapters in his book. And they seem to me to be very, very accurate and useful additions to your repertorizations. So, for that alone, it's not a bad purchase. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Repertory of Dreams. Okay, so I'm in my repertories. There's the dream repertory. And there's not much to be said. This is just, it works like any other repertory. I'm in the navigation window. I'm going to go, dreams, mother, Okay, we're going to look at a case. Now, look at dreams of mother. Okay, if I just go to that rubric, look at the sub-rubrics. It's quite detailed. And I'm going to show you in a moment how I used the dreams repertory to solve a case as well. So you've got this dreams repertory, but what we also have, so that's the repertory of dreams. Let's look at the next piece of this pair. This is called Dreams, a Homeopathic Perspective. Who knew? This is an intro to the repertory of dreams. Oh my gosh. Includes background information on how to use dreams homeopathically and materia medica and cases for 248 remedies. Okay. There's a part 1 with an overview of how to use dreams in practice. This is useful. And then part 2, alphabetically ordered examples of how to work with dreams. About 200 mostly rare remedies. Let's take a look. So we're going to go. Now, remember, this is a book. So we were looking at the repertory first. We got to go to our references library. And here is Dreams, a Homeopathic Perspective. Let's look at the contents. Methodology. All right, you want to read about how to use dreams, how to think about dreams, dream provings, misconceptions about dreams, and on and on and on. But look at this. Part 2, cases. Let's look at some of the cases. Oh my gosh, here we go again. Here's Allium Cepa now. He's talking about dreams and chronicles, actually, multiple cases. In most of these, there are multiple cases and dreams that he has used to create the rubrics that you will find in the dreams repertory. Honestly, I did not know that this part was here. Why? Because of that same problem I showed you earlier. Let's go back to our search. If I want to look at the dream situation for Allium Cepa, instead of searching in the indexed part, this is where you're going to find things in the repertory section. I've got to go over here. Allium Cepa, and searching in open references. Well, I've now opened that book, so it should come up. Let's try it. There we go. Dreams, a Homeopathic Perspective. And I pop right into the section on Allium Cepa. So if you are trying to confirm or investigate a particular prescription, you may, and you have this book available, you may want, in addition to doing your searching over here, you may want to come and just pop in the name of the remedy. For example, silica. You have to type the whole, now you're not going to put the abbreviation. You're going to actually look for how they would have written the book, written the name of the remedy, I should say. And then here we go with all the discussions of silica in that particular title. Okay. So, where are we? I always have to come back to my presentation so I don't get totally lost. Yeah, we've got the repertory of dreams. We've got dreams, a homeopathic perspective. And in this slide, I indeed remind us, search using words. And guess what? Voila, there's also a dream bundle on sale. So those 2 books, I think it's the same sale price as the other. But if you're not familiar with this book, I highly, highly recommend it. I want to go back to the repertory, though, and show you just one other thing. Let's go to the dream repertory, because remember, I was just raving about how much I love these editions. Let's look at expectoration, for example. Now, the expectoration chapter in our traditional repertories is big, right? What you see here is this is very small. These are nothing more than Dr. DeGroote's additions to rubrics, or to the repertory, I should say. But what's interesting is more often than not, these editions do not appear in Synthesis Adonis, for example. But it's worth a check because, again, I found things over here and I'm like, oh, okay, he's clinically confirmed it. And lo and behold, they're very, very useful. Okay, so are we leaving behind the dream bundle? We are. Okay, I'm going to check for, there's a comment or a question. Energy bundle directs us non-miasmatic remedies only. The energy bundle is this. It's got 4 books. It's got 2 books and a module and a repertory. You're going to find everything in here to some degree. Because remember, we talked about, let's take a look at this book. Um, this is mostly the energetic investigation, right? I think what you may be interested in, and again, I don't know, is this book here, which is a standalone. My Notes on Miasms, Heredity, and Nosodes. That's not part of the energy bundle. I don't think it's too terribly much money, but hopefully I answered your question. Again, if you have any issues or questions regarding, can I get this for my package, you can get a hold of Nakash and he'll help you with that. Okay. So we have a case. Okay. I said I had a case. Rock and roll. We've still got almost 30 minutes. So we're chugging. We're doing pretty well here. We got 2 more cases. Here's a case post-COVID. Very briefly, here's the case. Last night I woke up and got a coughing jag from a dry tickle. Okay. Pretty standard, right? Nothing new there. She says, like when I had COVID, I have terrible pain in my right hip. Okay. It's in my hip, going down my inner thigh along my femur. Feels like deep in my bones, not like a muscle strain. Okay. When I take a nice hot shower, it feels better. So, is this new? Meaning, is this pain new? Lo and behold, she says, when I was younger and still having my periods, I got this thigh pain in front of the thighs every time I got my period. You will see this often in COVID cases where, somehow that spike protein gets in there, especially if people have been jibby jabbed, and brings up these old symptoms again. So clearly she's having like a recurrence of an old symptom here because she had this when she was menstruating. Well, I said, okay, what are we going to do? And I took a look at my case notes and she said, this is about a year ago, I had these wild dreams, the same one twice. I was getting married for the first time and my mom was here. That was kind of nice. Okay, that's our case. Let's have a look. Okay, now I got to go to my radar opus for just a minute. And I actually have this one here as well. So I'm going to just recall that case, which is, whoops, number 2. Let's get that one up here. Okay, no peeking. No peeking. Okay, here we go. Woman age 70 post-COVID. So the first set of symptoms, oh, here it is right here on clipboard 1. Terrible pain in my right hip, going down the inner thigh, deep in my bones. So I have those on clipboard number 1 right here. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Okay. There's our first set of symptoms. Shall we do, let's keep going before we do the eliminating, right? Because I'm going to do the same method where I get rid of those non-nosodal things. Oh, when I was younger and still having my periods, I got this thigh pain in the front of the thighs every time I got my period. So I actually repertorized that on a separate clipboard. Let's have a look. That's this one. Okay, and I grouped these 3 rubrics together. They're all fairly small, and I figured I'm going to treat this as one, the pain before and during the menses in the thighs. Oh, look at this one. Let's actually look at it. This is extending down the hips and thighs, preceding and attending the flow. That is in Boraki of all things. That's a very nice rubric. We would like to think that our patient's remedy is there, wouldn't we? Yeah. So here's the first clipboard with, in general, the pain in the bones, blah, blah, blah. And here's that more specific around the menses. Let's go ahead and clean this up, shall we? We're going to get rid of the nosodal rubrics. So how do I do that? Remember, I just limit to nosodes and families, and everything that comes through with nosodes, I got to get rid of. Now, I'm not getting rid of this one. Why? Because I don't consider lysin nor these bowel nosodes over here to be classic nosodes. So I'm going to leave that one in. But I am going to get rid of pain in the bones. How do I get rid of it? I just zero it out. And look at this pain in the thighs. Really can't use that, can we? So we'll just zero it out. But these three seem to be coming through fine. Okay. Now remember the last step here is to remove that limit before we go on. Okay. So that's our first two symptoms now that have been tidied up. We took care of everything that had a nosodal component to it. Let's see what, oops, I don't want to note, do I? I want to go back to, there we go. When I take a nice hot shower, it feels better. That's on clipboard 3. And then this last one, oh, the dry cough, tickling. Okay, let's go look at those two. So that's this one and this one. Let's do our little technique. Let's put in the nosode families, just so remember. Okay, Lysin, flavus, don't care. That one's fine, right? Tickling in the throat pit, look at that. I've got carcinosin and tuberculinum. This one as well. Those got to go. Zero them out. And the dry cough at night also has to go. It's got meteorinum, syphilinum, right? So it's a no-go for that. So what have I got now? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 clipboards. I better zoom out a little bit. We'll never see the whole thing. Okay. Oops. What did I forget to do here? Remember, we got to remove that limit as we're working. This is kind of, you're going to have to be a little on the ball here to make this technique work, right? But you'll see it's worth the effort. Okay, now where are we? The dream. I had these wild dreams, the same one twice. I was getting married for the first time and my mom was here. Okay, so that is on clipboard number 5. Let's have a peek. Oh, no, not that one. There we go. These are the rubrics that I took from the Dreams Repertory. Let's have a look. Yeah, I'm in the Dream Repertory, Dreams of a Wedding Party. She also had, I also used Dreams of a Wedding. Okay, I actually grouped those two together. And then I had Dreams of Mother. Okay. So we would figure that if this dream, being her subconscious, really letting itself go, and she had it not once but twice a year ago. And if I'm not mistaken, she probably had COVID a year ago. In any event, I used all of these, right? So let's go ahead and just take a look for do we have an issue? We have no issue with nosodes, do we? Okay, good. We can get rid of that. Whoops. And remove the limitation. Ay. Come on. Remove limitations. All right. So here's our case. There's the thighs. There's the warm bathing. That actually stayed in. Cough. The cough is a zip. Didn't help us a bit, did it? We had to zero it all out. And there's the wedding party. Okay. Now, how do I look at this and decide what to do? Well, I did like this. I said, this symptom right here of the pain, you see that this is all grouped together. This is critical because this is the old symptom that she's had like forever and ever, right? So I actually will right click and make that an eliminative rubric. Okay, nice. I can get rid of the cough, this tickling in the throat, right? It's useless. But what about the dreams? Let's just go ahead and let's say it's got to be in the wedding party dreams. Okay, I took those two and I'm making a filter and then I'm looking at Dreams of Mother. And I have to choose between Magmuir and Colosynthus. Well, it's kind of a no-brainer, right? The remedy I gave the patient was Magmuir, and I never would have come to this remedy had I not used this particular system. After the fact, let me just throw this in here for you. Look at the inflammation of the bursa of the hip. This is a small, I don't even know where that is. Oh, it's in the Dreams Repertory. Oh my gosh. Okay, I rest my case. Look at that. Remember what I said that Dreams Repertory has got sometimes some just beautiful confirmatory symptoms? Okay, yeah, so I gave her, I'm like, well, I don't know. Gave her the Magmuir and she'd been taking all kinds of other stuff and she report the next day that it was like, 80, 90% better. Okay, so that's that case using the dreams plus that other technique. Okay, so the dreams repertory really, really paid for itself there, didn't it? Okay, that's a screenshot of the case number 2 for you. My video is choppy. I'm sorry, Richard, as it's probably my internet is choppy. I apologize. Anybody else having issues?
Nope.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right, so banging right along because we've got like 15 minutes. We're at the third insight. Okay, great. But now this gets back to well, I don't know what it gets back to. We'll just go right for the gusto. By administering the appropriate nosode in connection with or shortly after the correct individual remedy, the case gains momentum. The patient recovers more quickly from his acute or chronic problem. There's no homeopathic aggravation, and there's a quicker evolution toward a stable health. Wow. Who wouldn't want that, right? Now, this third insight is chronicled again in Notes on Miasms and Heredity. Here's further what DeGroote has to say on the subject. Most classical homeopaths search for and prescribe only the individual basic remedy of the patient, like I just did with the Magmir, right? Remember? And that previous case where the lycopodium was the individual remedy, which originates from whatever kingdom and thus is not a miasmatic remedy with a human origin, one of the nosodes. By prescribing this homeopathically correct remedy, he or she touches only on the personal energy of the patient, but not his hereditary energy. Further, the patient's complaints mostly improve, but the homeopath mostly misses the following, meaning what happens after that first prescription, the awakened ancestral energetic disorder, mostly the reason why the patient goes through an aggravation. This is according to Dr. DeGroote. During this aggravation, the patient produces known or new symptoms of the administered remedy. The homeopath will mostly adopt a wait and see attitude. In that way, the aggravation then disappears progressively as well as the original complaint. The disturbed, buried ancestral energy, which came temporarily to the surface, has then finally returned again to a dormant state. And here's his point. In that way, we as homeopaths miss an opportunity offered to us to treat the deeper hereditary energetic disturbances using the nosodes. So with that being said, I'm going to go on to the third and final case. Thanks, Beverly, for noting about the video. I'm going to go on to our third case here, and then we've got just like one more little piece of what's available. So let's do this. Let's recall number 3. That's this one. Okay. Close your eyes, people. Let's see the case. Okay, a father consulted me for his daughter of 5 years. Had a fever, coughs loose at daytime but dry at night. That's a nice symptom, isn't it? Every time she blew the nose, she had an earache on the left ear. Maybe on the left, or she just had an earache. I don't know. When she was feverish, she had cold feet. Those are all nice, aren't they? Then, concerning her character, the father told me she's a go-getter, always knows what she wants, and really obstinate. Bingo, right? Afraid in the dark, and consequently needs a little nightlight. And finally, she eats in a special manner. Mostly she eats only one single part of the meal, for example, only the veg and not the meat and potatoes, the other time only the meat, etc. Okay, I had to do this one really quickly because I sort of banged it out at the last minute, but I want to show you it can be done. So here is case number 3. And I did it on just 2 clipboards. You will recognize the symptoms here. Let's take a look at the case on the silver screen here. Now, this is just a straight up repertorization, what most of us would do, right? And what remedy are we going to give? We're going to give silica. We're going to give what? Okay. Let's apply our technique, shall we, for removing the nosodal rubrics and see if that helps. So again, the technique, I'm going to set nosodes as my limit. Okay. I guess I'm going to have to zero that one out, right? Because tuberculinum is there. Look at this. I have to get rid of obstinate because that's full of nosodes, isn't it?
Oh, no.
Fear of dark, full of nosodes. In other words, not individualizing and also fastidious about food. Useless. Okay? Let's now remove the limit and see what we've got left.
Hi.
Uh-oh, who's ever screaming there?
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
My
Okay.
daughter just showed up. Sorry.
No worries. Just turn your mic off. We're all good. Okay. So this entire clipboard of obstinate, fear of the dark, and fastidious about food all disappeared because those are all nosodal rubrics. This is what we are left with. Actually, just 1, 2 symptoms. Did that really help? I've still got an awful lot of selection of medicines here, don't I? And we got rid of the cold feet too because there was a nosode in that one. What was the nosode that was in that one? If I want to remember what was the nosode, look, I can do that. Turn it on. Yeah, it was tuberculinum. Oh, okay. Duly noted. Right? Okay, so I'll zero that out again. Anywho, let's just get on with the presentation of the case so we have some time for questions and whatnot. Okay, here's what he says. The remedy to prescribe as a result was calcarea. And she was indeed, oh, he confirmed it by his energetic examination. You know, he's poking, he's looking at, he's muscle testing, all those things that I imagine some of you do. She got a dose of MK calcarea. Now, here's the follow up. So that's the individualized remedy. 4 days later, they returned because there was no change for the better. Oh, child didn't like to play alone and had a very changeable humor. Often she cried, and shortly afterwards she laughed again when consoled. How about this? Once, when she was not getting what she wanted from the father, she hid his face and broke his spectacles. What's the remedy? We're going to give a nosode. Because calc was well indicated but didn't act, it was indicated to look for nosode, the changeable mood, inclination to strike, as expressed in the destructiveness, made me think about tuberculinum. So he took the tuberculinum and the hereditary obstruction was taken away and the girl regained perfect health. Remember, we had actually tuberculinum showing up here in the cold feet. Interesting. Okay, so that's an example of a case. Again, I just took that case directly out of, would have been this one, Miasms, Heredity, Nosodes. He's got lots of case examples in there. Okay, here are some more things that are available, as if that weren't enough. Remedy interactions in kingdoms. Okay, let's just have a quick peek at this. These are remedies that follow well and so on. Now, you may recall that those sorts of databases, if you will, are found here in the Repertory's table of contents, okay, because it's a database as opposed to a book, okay? So here we have DeGroote's remedy interactions, and these are actually all, well, I guess I can't pull up the table of contents quite in the way I wanted. Now, in this case, now that I've got this open, these are actually indexed by remedy. So let's use our example of allium cepa again. Clear that out. If we just want our allium cepa, and I want to search in all open repertories, for example, it's actually going to bring that up. And here are, allium cepa. Oh, these are all that are related to allium cepa. Are these all the allium cepa ones? Yeah, these are all related to allium cepa. There they go. Okay, so you have, that's another tool that is available. And oh, and that's the end of the show, other than for me to point out that if you go online on his website, and I think this is worth, I would encourage you to read this article and study it. Okay. He is talking basically about the treatment of influenza. And he claims that it gives us the opportunity to clear psychotic layer in the patient. I think that's fascinating and well worth a read. With that being said, in the last few minutes that we have left, I'm just going to put up on the screen here how you can find me, how you can find our Radar Opus US website. This is where you can get a hold of customer support, sales, um, order products, that kind of thing. Um, and I will entertain questions if anyone has a question that they would like to put out here. I don't know if I can answer it, but I'm open to your questions and comments. Has anybody used any of these tools? Is there anybody here that wants to share their own experience um, with using any of these? Okay.
I can share experience about the kinesiology because I'm
Yeah.
using kinesiology on my clients. Not in front of them, but I use my kinesiologist, my therapist, and I recruit her for sessions where I'm testing remedies and I'm testing my patients for certain remedies. And I just had a session with her, which is probably the 5th session I had because I'm developing my own remedies. And I don't have a way to develop a proving for each of the remedies I'm developing. So I'm using kinesiology to identify what are the channels and what are the organs and what is impacting on the mind. So this is very strong actually. The kinesiology is coming up very effective in identifying what are the channels of operating of these new remedies.
Very interesting. Thank you, Michelle. And I would say that what sounds like what you're doing is a little bit different in the sense that you're not actually testing the patient in the clinical setting. Nonetheless, it's a really, really interesting
No,
investigation.
yeah, but I just wanted to add that I'm also combining the remedies, the existing remedies. For instance, I come to my kinesiologist, so I lay down on the table and I have a list of patients, and I wanted to confirm with her. For instance, I had a boy, he had ADHD, 14 years old, and his parents brought him because he's forgetful and he's not very nice with his siblings. I gave him Costicoms 12C, and then when I tested him in kinesiology, he came up with a 200C. And after I gave him the 200C, he came up positive with an LM2.
Interesting. So you're actually testing the potency. Well, do keep us informed on that. And I would also really, I would encourage you to take a look at the information that Dr. DeGroote has provided for us here and see how that compares with what you're discovering in your own investigations. So thanks for that. Is there anybody else that has a question or a comment? If not, I really want to thank everyone for attending, and I seriously, sincerely hope that you will take a look. Again, let me just go back to the this list of available works by Dr. DeGroote. I think that there's something here for everyone. Clearly, we're not all going to start doing energetic examination of our patients. Well, I should say clearly, at least in my own case. But the sheer amount of information and experience that is wrapped up in this selection of works really, really is extraordinary. Even if you're just doing, for example, bowel nosodes and you want to learn more about that. So I want to thank everybody for attending and wish you all the best. This is the last of these that I'm going to do obviously for this year. Do let us know how you like them. If there are topics that are of interest to you. Again, you can just get a hold of orders at radaropus.us, and Nakash will help you, and you can let him know what you think and look for the recording of this video as well as the handout where I'll put all of those links in there, and then you can study to your heart's content. Okay? Thank you, everyone. I'm going to stop sharing and just give people a chance to say goodbye if anybody wants to say goodbye. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, so nice to see everyone. Wishing you all the very best. And yeah, hope to see you next year. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.